Hey, good Thursday evening, all you weather geeks and nerds and dweebs and geeks out there. It is 21 News Chief Meteorologist Eric Wilhelm, and we're going to take a look at the Friday and weekend forecast. We'll take a look at the medium range trends in this video as well. We still have a lot of question marks when it comes to the possibility of some gusty storms late in the weekend, but I do think we have a really nice Saturday coming for a lot of the area. In the meantime, it was one of those late March days today in which we had a big, what we call diurnal temperature range. The high this afternoon was 57, but this was this morning's low officially at the airport, 20 degrees. Pretty good bet that this will be the coldest early morning low temperature we see until sometime in October, probably even November or so. Because as it gets deeper into the spring, of course, it gets harder to pull off these kinds of overnight temperatures with our nights getting shorter and shorter. We had upper teens to around 20 in some of the colder spots, as I talked about last evening. On average, we started the day between 21 and 25 degrees with frost in some parts of the area. And while we didn't see any snow today, I just wanted to, kind of reiterate where we stand in terms of snow for the season. For the month, we're running almost 8 inches behind average. But for the season, we're almost 21 inches behind the average. And of course, we're not going to close the book on snow just yet here on March the 27th, because historically speaking, in our part of Ohio and Pennsylvania, we see about 5% of our average annual snowfall in the month of April. Typically, big storms, of course, are rare, with the exception of 1987, I believe. I think it was on the first day of the month, in fact. We had a big-time wet snow event, but that's really the exception. A lot of times we see snow in April, kind of like we did yesterday, where a little bit happens, but then it vanishes pretty quickly. So we're not going to close the book on the snow just yet this season, but we're almost certainly going to finish way behind the average in terms of our average or our seasonal snowfall for winter of 24 into 25. All right, no snow, of course, out there tonight. A little bit of rain shower activity off to our south. Warm front is lurking off to our south. It's going to start lifting off to the north. As it does so, we'll see increasing chances for some wet weather as we go into the day on Friday. Don't forget, you can get these hourly forecasts anytime on the Storm Tracker 21 app and WFMJ.com/weather. We have the hourly rain chances kind of reaching a crescendo, if you will, early in the afternoon on Friday. There might be some raindrops as early as late morning, but I think the rain is most likely from about noon to 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. After that, the rain chances, mostly from south to north, should decrease pretty rapidly as we head towards dinner time, setting the stage for a nice sunset Friday evening, and actually a very balmy Friday night coming our way. Here's one model depiction of the raindrops on Friday. Outside chance of a rumble of thunder, but most of this will be just showers here and there. Midday into the afternoon on our Friday. The shower chances ramp down quickly towards evening, and then clear sky for a lot of Friday night, and temperatures kind of hanging out between 55 and 60 most of the night. We took up our high temperature expectations for Saturday to 74 today, but I think there's going to be some unofficial readings in some parts of the area, especially our southern viewing area, up around 76 or 77 degrees. And while clouds will tend to win out more often than not as we head towards lunchtime into the afternoon, I think there will be enough holes in the clouds that we should have no trouble, again, getting well up into the 70s. Chance of a shower remains in our forecast for Saturday, mostly in the afternoon, but the chance isn't very high. We're going to have plenty of dry time to enjoy the May-like warmth on Saturday. That's the better half of the weekend, because here's what's coming our way late Saturday night into Sunday. Some rain. No severe weather expected at this point, and I do think we'll get into this dry slot out here for a lot of Sunday afternoon. We're starting to focus more and more on Sunday evening and especially overnight Sunday night for the possibility of some gustier weather. Severe weather remains fairly unlikely, I think, in our viewing area, but we can't rule it out. The severe weather late Sunday into Sunday night, more likely in a place like Louisville, maybe Cincinnati, heading down towards Memphis and Nashville, and maybe as far west as St. Louis, and as far north as Chicago and Grand Rapids. But once you get out into our part of Ohio and Pennsylvania, the best chance of thunderstorms may be overnight, Sunday night, at a unfavorable time of the day. Now, as the system comes east, depending on which model you look at, it may come east pretty fast Monday morning. The European model today was very slow. If you take the European model literally, we get up into the 60s for a time on Monday before temperatures start falling, and the European model is so slow, in fact, that it has thunderstorms trying to blow up by lunchtime near the state line and heading over into central PA as well. But that's kind of an outlier, an exception at this point to the rule. But it's something we'll be keeping an eye on, the forward speed of the system. We may dodge a severe weather bullet late Sunday night, but there may be a gusty thunderstorm before the midday hours or through on Monday if the slower ideas end up panning out. When you look at a model depiction of the instability, or you may know this if you're deep into the weeds on weather things, CAPE, C-A-P-E, convectively available potential energy. We oftentimes refer to this as thunderstorm fuel, is kind of the shorthand. And this is off the European model. It has our CAPE values peaking in the middle of the night, Sunday night, into Monday morning. Again, a nocturnally unfavorable time of the day for severe weather, but some modest amounts of CAPE and plenty of wind shear aloft, and anything that rolls through in the middle of the night could be pretty noisy with a low end chance of severe weather more likely a few hours out to our west. One day stands out in the 10-day forecast, and that is, no fooling, April the 1st will be almost 10 degrees below the average despite increasing sunshine Tuesday afternoon. After that, though, we start warming back up, probably not as warm as it will be at times this weekend, but still pretty consistently above the average in this period. But just beyond this 10-day forecast, I do think there are risks for a cooler period as we go into the middle of April. Some of the modeling is pretty impressive. Now, middle of April, of course, a cooler period does not mean necessarily the kind of cool period like we'd have in February, of course, but some of the modeling, I should say, is fairly impressive with the trough it wants to dump into the Great Lakes. Middle of April, might be some influence from the stratosphere. The stratosphere recently warmed quite a bit. A lot of times the stratospheric polar vortex, which oftentimes sits over the North Pole, of course, and then wiggles and wobbles throughout the winter season. A lot of times it undergoes what's known as a final warming event. It's like a sudden stratospheric warming, but it's the last one of the season. It's as the vortex is really just falling apart as the northern hemisphere gets deeper into spring. When that polar vortex warms or falls apart in this case, sometimes that redirects some cold pretty far to the south, and that may be what's going to happen as we go into mid-April. We'll have more thoughts on the longer range, including the latest updates from the Climate Prediction Center on weeks 3 and 4 on Friday's edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. We'll talk about the weekend rain chances, the warmth, and the possibility of some stronger storms late in the weekend as well. Thanks for watching on this Thursday evening, and have a great rest of your night.